Welcome to the Heartland Running Podcast. Join Crystal, Andy, and Chandler as they explore all things running related in the Heartland and beyond.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of the Heartland Running Podcast. I'm Crystal.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Chandler.
And this is our final episode of 2017. Woo!
Yay!
Yay!
And so in this episode, we realized, so we do officially have a third host now, and it's been in the intro for the past couple episodes, but we've never formally introduced our newest host, and we haven't had the opportunity to grill him and find out more about him. So that's what we're going to do tonight.
Who is it?
Oh,
I haven't heard this.
You didn't get the show notes on this one?
No, what happened?
Must have missed that one.
Okay, yeah, there's no show notes. We're making this up.
Except for the part where we get to grill Chandler tonight. So, officially welcome Chandler as the newest host, although it's kind of funny because you've done several episodes with us, but welcome, Chandler.
That was like the trial period, like 2 weeks free trial, and then you
oh wait,
you gotta sign up.
Now we gotta pay the subscription fee?
Unfortunately.
Always
I want to make sure that we could try him out, and if we had to fire him, we didn't have to pay unemployment or something like that on him.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say always read the fine print, because now apparently he's on salary and didn't realize that. So
okay, we can't get rid of him now.
Yeah, no, gotta keep him now. Are you ready to tell us all about yourself? This isn't awkward, right?
I'm ready to dive deep into my psyche, tear me apart bit by bit.
Yes. Okay, so the first question, this is always a tough one. So how'd you get into running?
Well, you guys may have heard of a man called Chandler Lee. He was weirdly into running and happened to live with me for some reason.
Weirdly into running. I love that.
I had done track and field in middle school, mostly field events. I threw shot put and discus. Please don't ask me my distances. They're really bad. And our team was small enough that the coach was just like, you can stay on, whatever, not hurting anyone. And then so finally, I was always the bigger kid growing up, and my senior year of high school, just, I don't know, something clicked, and I was like, I should probably, I should lose weight, that'd be cool for college and everything. So I knew Dad ran, and I was like, running seems like a thing. So I did that because that's a lot cheaper than a gym membership. Turns out it worked, and it turns out I really liked it, unfortunately. So now I'm stuck with it.
See, now it's fun that you say it's cheaper than a gym membership until you really start getting into all of the gear. And then you're like, this isn't as cheap as I thought this was going to be. Until
you get into ultra trail, when you've got to buy hydration pack and hydration belt and then, your GPS watch. But just roads, when you're doing a 5K, it's much cheaper.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, well, I think that's really cool because a lot of times, whenever especially someone your age, that when a parent, or a dad or something like that, they're into something and do something. Sometimes one of the kids might kind of resist that a little bit and think, well, that's their thing, or I don't know if that's cool for me to do the same thing that my parents are doing. But I like that you went ahead and kind of embraced that because it was something he was passionate about. And it seems like you've kind of developed that passion too. What is it about, going out, lacing up and heading out for a run? I mean, what's the thing that you really like about that? What's the thing that really draws you to it?
I'm trying to think how to put this. So I've always been I liked hiking. I liked going places. And there's something about running, and especially there's a route I really like. And essentially I walk out my door and I just run. I'm pointing. That's not very good in a podcast, but I just follow the road as far forward as I can go. And it ends up being 6.5 miles. And it's towards an old house I used to have. We used to live in back in the old country. Not the old country, out in the country. Getting ahead of myself here. But so it's really cool. Something about running when you're running these distances that by car, take you 3 minutes. And then on your feet, you're out there for an hour and you're like, oh man, 6 miles is a lot. And it really gives you a sense of perspective in the world. And maybe that sounds really crazy, but I really like that. I like that feeling of small, and you really get a sense of how massive this orb we call home really is.
I love that. I think Naresh had said something like that at one point, that it's always important at some point to feel small. I like going to the beach for that too, where you just kind of like, you stand there and you look out at the ocean and you're like, I'm just a speck.
Yeah. So everyone gets something different out of running. And if I'm getting this right from you, that you like the exploring aspect, the aspect of just, going out and finding yourself and finding adventure and stuff like that. Some people like the competition aspect of it, or, that pushing themselves. Do you kind of feel any sort of that right there? Or is it all just, let's just go out and see the world?
I definitely don't feel a lot of competition. I'm not a very competitive person, being completely honest. And like, of course, it's always like, oh, I want a faster time. But that's what I like about running. And, it's kind of the big competition is yourself. You're always racing against your former self. And so that's what's nice about it. It doesn't set the bar too high. I can accomplish those goals. And so, like every day it's just like, oh, I want to run a little bit better than I could yesterday. So you get that sense of, I guess it isn't competition. That'd be self-improvement, wouldn't it? But
no, I think that's still competition. No.
You're racing your ghost, kind of like in those racing games. They've got like your best time, and you can kind of see what you were doing there. And it's kind of like you're always doing that whenever you run. Like, and that is like the most competitive aspect I like about it is always trying to be better than my previous run. Unless it's a rest day, and then it's, whatever.
Now, do you like rest days?
I guess it depends. What was my week like,
Oh, yeah. Sometimes you want that run after a week like that. But I don't know. I'm one of those few people. I like rest day. I guess I'm weird like that.
I kind of rest day is my pig out day. Like, during the week, I'm kind of like, oh, I gotta watch what I eat. You can't get rest day though. It's all out. I just justify like I need the calories for recovery. I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah. So what are some of your indulgences then?
Indulgences. All right. Mac and cheese is my favorite food in the world. You can't justify it though. Zach doesn't eat mac and cheese, my brother. And so it's really hard to just make one serving of a box of mac and cheese.
Wait, isn't a box a serving?
No.
Oh, come on.
So, but yeah, it's like rest day. It's like, so I'll eat like, for breakfast, PB&J for lunch, maybe a banana in between, and then just like a whole box of mac and cheese, and like, I'm trying to think of what else. Just a lot of mac and cheese. That's definitely it.
Amen to that. Love the mac and cheese. So, what does your average week work look like? I'm not interested in miles or anything like that, but do you have some faster days? Do you have some slower days? Do you have some longer days? I mean, what does your average week look like that is just kind of in your personal program you got?
So it's very unscientific. A lot of people, they keep very to the stats. They record everything. The three things I make sure every week I get at least one day of trails in, one long run, which usually coincide, and then 1 day of speed work. The rest of them, I kind of play it by ear. I usually look at weekly mileage. I aim for, if I'm doing a short week, about 15 miles for a week. And usually, though, I'm trying to hit around 20 miles a week. But so for the day-to-day, as long as I hit that weekly goal, I'm okay. So it's pretty unscientific.
No, that's still structured, though. You have it all set out. But I like that. So you have it set out. You have certain goals that you want to hit, but you're very flexible about how you get there. I like that. I think that's kind of cool.
That reminds me a lot of whenever we spoke with Jordan previously. That that's one thing that really surprised me, was that her regimen wasn't nearly as structured as what I thought it would be, and so that was really surprising to me. That she had a lot of flexibility in that.
There you go. You're the next Jordan. How do you feel about that?
Please don't put that pressure on me. I can't get the braids. My hair's not long enough yet.
Keep working on it. We'll get you some extensions.
Oh, all right. Is that one of the benefits with this position?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
We're gonna get an extension sponsor.
That would be great. I would like a nice weave. That would be awesome.
Perfect. I'm surprised there should be somebody out there like Jordan should have her own line of like hair extensions.
Yeah, there you go.
Your race hair extensions. I don't know how we got off on this.
It's important stuff.
It is very, it's all the scientific facts over here. We're fine.
For the self-conscious runner.
Do you have a run that you think back of that's kind of your most memorable run? Like either everything just clicked that day or it was in a real memorable spot?
Definitely. Happened about a year ago, right before I left for Florida. So that'd be like June or late May last year. I was only going out for like an 8 mile. I was like, I may do 8 and I may do a 15K. I wasn't sure. So I start running and I hit 5 and I was like, I'm feeling really good today. I think I'm going to do, I'll do 10. I'll just go 10. So I hit 10 and I was just feeling good. And I was like, let's keep going. Let's just go until I don't want to go anymore. So I ended up doing like 13.5, which was awful because I didn't bring any water. So it actually, like, I was running down one of the old highways here, and a friend of mine, he lives down there, and he happened to be driving his truck by me at the time. And I flag him down. I'm like, hey, you got a water bottle in here? And he hands me like this half empty, like sun-baked water bottle. And I just downed that thing in like a half a second. I'm like, all right, thanks, man. And just keep going. But just everything kind of clicked that day. And I don't know. It was kind of like, well, it wasn't scheduled, but I really feel like going further. And tomorrow I might not feel that way. So I might as well capitalize on that feeling.
Oh, that's exactly right. I mean, because, there's days that, you have big things planned and, your body's just like, no, it's not going to happen today. But, then there's those days where, you feel good and everything's clicking along. And then just like what you said, you just take advantage of it and then just go because you don't know when you're going to have that day back. And so yeah, that's cool. I love those days. They're great.
So now you've raced before, right?
I've raced in track and field. And I did a 5K. Those are the races I've done.
Okay. Tell me about the 5K.
The 5K was that 4th of July 5K I was telling about on the Thanksgiving episode. It was not awful. It was, I don't know.
That was on the race website, right? Come join our race. We're not awful.
The Heartland Running podcast.
We're not awful.
Average was the rating. It was in Florida, so I don't know. That whole time I was down there from June to December in 2016. I don't think like there was one day where I was just like primed and ready to go. So I think just the heat was getting to me. It had only been like a month I was down there, so you're getting that homesickness, and then it's like, okay, let's go on this run, and everyone's there, and it's crowded, and you're just kind of like, it's early. I think a lot of it, it was all in my head. I think if I went back and did it again, I'd probably have a much more positive experience. But, I can't complain. It was a good time.
Oh, no, 4th of July in Florida, that doesn't sound fun.
No. Well, that's one of the things that's exciting that I think it is to have you on the podcast is that you bring a whole different aspect to the contrast between me and Crystal is that, you're just kind of, you've got a little experience and you're just kind of starting to get into the running world and even into racing. And so you bring a whole different aspect to the show that has never been on there before. And I think that's awesome. And sometimes some of the things that, I may look over or Crystal may look over because we've done this for such a long period of time that you're going to bring that fresh perspective to the show that I think is first of all needed and also very appreciated by a lot of people that listen because not everyone may be an experienced runner. And so I think that's very cool. And that's one of the things that I'm very grateful that you stepped in here and are part of the show.
I'm really hoping I can fill out that role. The big thing I find, you always gotta be a little bit conscious so you don't ask really obvious questions like, what if you have to go on an ultra run? What do you do then? Like,
but you know what? That's the thing is that, I mean, they're all important questions because that's something I'm not going to ask. And, that may be something that I might have something to comment on that. It's like, okay, here's your options. Or maybe I've never thought about that before. And so, it's kind of that saying, there are no dumb questions. Just dumb answers.
Oh yeah,
and I have plenty of those. But that's the thing is that perspective that we need that on the show, and so I think it's great. So I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, absolutely. And the odds are too, if you're thinking it, somebody else there is thinking it too. So I think it's always good to ask those questions. So I'm curious, what motivates you? What motivates you to get out there? Because you're not super competitive, but you clearly love it. What motivates you day to day?
So the trail runs I do, it's kind of like I don't know. I just have like I want to get out there. If I wasn't running, I'd be hiking it. If I wasn't hiking it, I don't know. Is there like a dry skiing without snow, cross country? Probably that. Something crazy. So for trails, I don't know. The motivation definitely comes from the adventure. And especially if it's like a technical trail, like, oh, yes, please. Something like that. It's just a fun new challenge, lots of adventure. It gets me out of the house. Road days, some days it's the motivation of just, becoming a better me. Every time you step into those, running shoes, you work a little bit better at becoming the ultimate form, the peak of yourself. And some days, it's just pure discipline. It's I don't want to do it. Everything sucks. And, motivation is fleeting. It's a limited resource we have. You use it up. And so you just got to rely on discipline and force yourself to do it, even when you don't want to, because it's going to be better for you. As I said, it makes you it gets you closer to the best person you can be. So a lot of it's discipline and a lot of it's just the adventure.
Yes, that's what I was telling myself this morning at 4:30 when my bed was nice and warm. It was cold out and sleeting and windy. So, in fact, I think I put on my Strava today, I need a better hobby. So,
well, see, and that's why I love working second shift this time of year, because when I wake up, it's like 10 o'clock in the afternoon and it's already nice and warm out.
That's smart. So are you a morning runner, evening runner, or does it matter?
I classify myself as a morning runner. When I'm not working, super late, I'm usually up by 6 o'clock and I'm out the door by 6:30. I don't know. I'm a morning person in general, so it just makes more sense to run. But I do enjoy a night run. Do enjoy them.
That's cool. Have you done a night trail run?
No. It's on the list. It's just one thing I'm not interested in going out there alone.
Yes.
In the middle of the night.
Yeah, please don't do that. All right. Do you have any other questions, Andy?
I don't think so. I did have a few questions, but I think that they're going to get answered in some of the questions that we have from the Facebook group.
Oh, wait. Before we jump to that, I do have one other very important question.
Okay, great.
What is your favorite sword flavor?
Okay, so I have only tried 2 sword flavors.
Oh, we've got to fix this. Okay.
Apple and ginger. A tough one.
Really?
I really like apple. And ginger's interesting. It's got a nice flavor. If I was out on like a summer run, though, in the middle of the heat, I'd probably go apple.
Oh, I do love the apple. We'll get you some orange and berry too, so that you can try them all.
Can't wait.
All right. So what we did is we opened this up to our Facebook group. So if you are not a member of our Facebook group, you need to get on there because this gives you opportunities like this. And so most of the questions tonight, there's ones for Chandler, there's ones for all of us. These are all from our Facebook group. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump through and try and get to, there's a bunch of them. So we're going to try and get to as many as we can tonight. Do you want to start off reading them, Andy?
Okay, I sure will. Okay, so we have a question from Robert, and he's on there all the time. And then he is asking, is Chandler training for anything for the upcoming year? Maybe a marathon or more just a trail type run? What's your upcoming year looking like?
So I'm really interested in doing a trail marathon in 2018.
Yay!
Very interested. Looking at a few. Haven't decided on anything 100%, but that's what I'm looking to do. That's the big one. Fingers crossed we can make it happen.
So you're looking at both. You're looking at doing a marathon and trails.
Yeah. I can't run a hotel room, so trails seem a lot more convenient.
Yes, dirt bagging it. That's awesome.
That's what I was saying.
Yes. You know what? I love that. I like camping at trail races and stuff. I think that's awesome.
Okay, so there's different types of trail races that are out there. I mean, there's some that are, nice and flat, like your rails to trails, stuff like that. There's some that, get a little bit more technical. Is there anything you're kind of leaning towards or what?
More on the technical side.
Yeah.
I really enjoy technical trails. Just something about them, the quick mental work. And I figure for a marathon, that would keep my eye on the prize the whole time.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm looking at. Something more techy, a bit more hilly. It sounds good.
Okay. Lots of options out there around you.
Yeah, you're in a good area for that kind of stuff. All right, we'll jump to the next one. This one is also for you, Chandler. So this one comes from George, and he wants to know what you feel your role will be. What do you bring to the show? And then, not to get too emotional, but are you doing this in honor of your dad, or is it something else that you were interested in doing before?
So I think Andy brought up the best point that, overall, I haven't found my niche in running yet. So a lot of what I'm bringing to the show is just a newer perspective, the beginner look at things. You guys all heard it. You've made it this far into the episode. And I'm hoping, as I evolve as a runner and everything, that I can kind of bring that evolving perspective. And if I do eventually find a niche that fits me well, I will bring that niche to this show, whatever that may be. And as for, of course, I'm doing this in honor of my dad. And anything, running, as I said, my dad, he loved running. It truly was his passion in life. And I know you hear people say that a lot. It really was, though. Anytime you brought something up, he would relate it to running. I kid you not. I would talk about how annoyed I was that we were, I was like, I forgot to get eggs. He's like, well, it's a lot like when I was doing the hog.
I can hear that.
It's like, no, this is completely unrelated. But he loved running. So, anytime I'm out there running, it is kind of like he's there with you, or he's helping make sure you don't heel strike. He's constantly watching you. And so anything running related is obviously an honor to him. But that's not the only reason I'm on this show. I've been listening to the show since it first came out. I've listened to nearly every episode. I think there's like one or two I haven't listened to yet. Have to save those. And I like the show. I like podcasting. I love media, anything like that. So this is when Andy and Crystal were like, hey, want to jump on an episode? Of course I was like, yeah, sure. And so those are the reasons I'm on here, I guess.
That's cool. And I'd say the other thing, too, that you bring, too, is that you've started taking over and doing the episode show artwork. So all of a sudden, it looks really good.
They're not that good.
They are wonderful. And I'll tell you, I'm really appreciative. Yeah, they look great. So much better than what I was slapping together. So thank you for that.
Glad to hear everyone's enjoying that.
Okay, so we've got a question from Paula, and then this is for Crystal. Crystal, I'd love to hear more about how you became a runner and how you stayed and evolved as a runner. Because, I've had my story on the podcast. We're working on Chandler's on this podcast. We really haven't done a Crystal one. So that's something that we should probably consider to do in the future. So if you want to do like the short version of it, and then we'll get you later.
Well, so my story was kind of on my first episode that I was on. I did have a chance to talk to it about it a bit. My short story is it's so not inspirational. I started running because I drank too much at a company picnic, and someone convinced me that I could run a half marathon. And I believed it. And so the next day, and at the time, I should clarify that I was not a runner. I did not run. I was not athletic. And this was in August. And so I saw the half marathon they were talking about was in September. And I'm like, that's crazy. I can't go from doing nothing to running a half marathon in a month. Then I saw there was one in October. And somehow in my mind going, oh, okay, well, I can go from nothing to a half marathon in, 8 weeks. That made sense. And I did it. And it was, I talked about it before, I was so naive. I was in the middle of the race and I didn't even know how far it was. And it was actually longer than I thought it was when I heard somebody say, like, just so many more kilometers to go, because it was in Canada. And I'm like, doing the math and I'm like, oh, crap, that's a full kilometer further than I thought I had to go. But then it stuck. Kind of how I've stayed and evolved. I started off kind of really peaking early in running. So I didn't have much experience, but then I came in, and when I did my first marathon, which was a year after I started running, my first marathon was sub 4 hours. My second marathon, I BQ'd, and then it all kind of tanked from there. And which is really kind of disheartening when you like peak in your second race. And so then I started doing some of the ultras, and then I got pregnant, and I loved being pregnant. I knew this was going to be my one and only child. And so I like really took advantage of it. I was that like woman going through the McDonald's drive-thru at 3 a.m. in my pajamas, eating like 5 Big Macs. And so I loved every minute of it, until you find out that you don't actually give birth to a 50-pound baby and you have to figure out how to lose it. And so from that point, it was really hard for me to get back into running, because I'd always compare myself to, oh my gosh, I used to be able to go out and run a 7:30 mile. And I'm like, I can maybe get a 12. And so for years, it was on and off again, love-hate relationship. And it took a lot of years until I could finally get out of my own way and not compare myself anymore. And once I could finally do that, and so I think that's one of the biggest ways that I've evolved, is I just appreciate where I am right now. And the past few years have just been wonderful, and I'm loving it. So that's my story.
I love that. I wish that I could do that myself, because sometimes I do struggle with getting in my own way and struggling with, as I'm improving, or am I going to improve anymore, or is this just as good as it's going to get? Then, I don't know. I know that you always can improve, but, with my time that I have to put into running and my time with my family, maybe that's all I can do, or maybe it's not. So I don't know. That's kind of one of the big questions for me. But going back to Paula's question, she had multiple questions here, and so we're going to hit them just one at a time. She did have a question for me, and then that was how my faith impacts my life, and how it also impacts my running. And so that's a very interesting question. I am a very spiritual person, and just like the song, Jesus is just all right with me. And that's I love going to church, and that's a big part of my life. And how it affects my running. That's something that's a big part of what got me into running, is because my running group is through my church. And if you go back to some previous episode to where I gave my story, if you want some more about it, that's where it is. But essentially, I started running through our church group, and we started a running group, and it was just an amazing experience. And so we continue that on today. And actually here, since this is the first of the year, we're going to be moving on to the middle of January, and we're going to start that group back up again. And so old friends are going to be coming back. We're going to make some new friends. And so that's kind of the exciting thing about that. And we do some fun stuff there. We do some Bible study that goes along with it. So faith is a big part of my running for a certain period of the year, and the rest of the time it's just solo on my own. And so that's what that's going to be. And then Paula also asks, what are the goals for next year? And so we've already heard Chandler's. I guess I can go ahead and give my goals. In March, I'm going to be doing the Little Rock Marathon. And then I'm going to probably pick another marathon that's going to be later on in the spring. With my goal is that I'm going to try to get myself a little more experience at that distance. One thing that I learned at Chicago was I was very well trained. I did not have a good day. And I think that there was multiple reasons that went into that, but I think a lot of it was I just didn't have the experience at that distance to give myself the confidence to run that race the way that it needed to be run. And so my goal is I'm going to do 2 races this spring. I'm going to run them casually. I'm going to have fun at them, but I'm just going to gain experience at that distance and then train hard through the summer like I did last year, and then go into a fall race, which is yet to be determined, but a fall marathon. And then hopefully I can get that PR that's been eluding me for the last few races. And so that is pretty much my tentative plans for 2018. And Crystal, how about you?
I like that. That sounds like such a good plan. So my goal is set for 2018. And it looks a whole lot like my goal for 2017 because I hit 2017 was a great year for me and I learned a lot. And I would take this as a learning year and I did a lot of great things. My main goal for this year was to run the 100 miles at Tunnel Hill, which I fell short at. I came up with 76. So the goal for next year, I'm already working with Corey, is going to go back. We're going to go back to Tunnel Hill. He kind of fell short of his goal at Tunnel Hill too. So I think the plans are we're both going back. Going back to do the 100, and we're setting the goal to go under 24 hours at Tunnel Hill is the main goal for 2018.
All right. So we've got another question here, and this is from Andrew, which he recently completed the Tunnel Hill 100. Is that correct?
He did.
He did. He completed it. And
congratulations.
Congratulations. That is super awesome. And so he is asking, he's asking Chandler, what will be your first 100 miler? It's like, come on, dude, really? I guess the big question is, would you ever consider something like that?
I mean, let's be real. The first 100 miler is definitely going to be like Badwater or Western States, a real easy one. No, I may, depending on how this marathon goes, I could, run the marathon and be like, oh my gosh, this is awful. And just stick to the sub-marathon distances. Or I could be, figure this is the perfect distance. Maybe I'll go crazy and do a 200 miler, just skip the 100. I don't know. I see it as I'm not ruling it out, but I'm not saying anything's concrete. I can't see the future. Unfortunately, I'm still working on that. But
okay. And then also, Andrew did dump this on myself, and he wanted to know when I was going to get talked into doing a 100 miler. And so I said,
and we're working on that.
I know everyone's working on it. Everyone wants me to run. And you know what? I'm going to drop a truth bomb on everyone here.
All right. Sit down.
And that is, I don't have enough patience. Because the whole thing I'm thinking about whenever I'm running like a marathon, it's like, I need to get done so that way I can go take a shower and get something to eat and then mow the yard or something like that. I mean, that's my mindset. I don't have the ability or the patience I think that I have the physical ability and I think I have the mindset. I just don't think I have the patience to invest that much time running on a trail. And I think that's just something with me that it's just, maybe it's ADD or what? I don't know.
Well, you know where I think it'll come? And I don't think now's the time or anything like that now because you're very focused on that. I think when you finally get that PR, then you BQ, then you do Boston, then you kind of do some other stuff, and then you start getting the, what next? That's when it comes.
And then you do Barkley.
No. I don't want to get tapped out like 15 minutes after we start and already lost.
No, I made it a mile. It only took me 2 days. Let's see. The other one from George was for me, which I answered. Anyways, he was asking, have I planned my next 100-mile race? And yes, it will be Tunnel Hill again next year. So, and then he had another question for Andy. You want to ask that one, Chandler?
Yeah, Andy. So when are you going to mail meat sticks to all of our wonderful listener?
Okay, you can go to www.cloudsmeats.com, and then you can give us a call with your credit card, and I would be more than happy to ship sticks to you.
You've heard it, folks. Here first
go.
on the Heartland Running podcast.
And you know what? I have to. I don't eat a lot of meat. I have to admit, they are so good.
They are really good.
All right.
Okay, so a great friend of the show, Steve Durbin, and I love this word that he came up with.
And I can't pronounce it. You know who came up with this? Steven came up with this word, and it was a running joke because I cannot pronounce it.
Okay, so I'll say it for you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I assume this is for Crystal. And so are you still doing the Durbathlon? I hope so.
And I can't, this is the whole thing. I cannot say it. Both of them were teaching me how to do it. I cannot say it, so I will not say it. So first of all, with the
Durbathlon.
Thank you. Is Stephen and I were planning to run every single one of Steve Durbin's races in 2018 was the plan. You know, it's something that I'd still like to do. It will not be happening for 2018. Just the timing of some of it isn't going to work next year. I'm going to be at least 3 of Durbin's races, though. I'm doing Land Between the Lakes. I'm going to do the 60K there, and then doing one of the Run Under the Stars, and then Tunnel Hill. So I'll be at least at 3 of them. I may add in some other ones in there, but at least those ones. So
okay, that's pretty good. That hopefully that can get you a frequent flyer discount or something like that.
That's right. And just remind everybody that if you go to Durbin Race Management and use HRP 15, you get 15% off any of his races too. So that's kind of a good deal.
Nice.
I like that it's a percentage too, instead of like a flat, $10 or whatever, because if you're going in, and what's really cool is he has shorter races. So some of them have like half marathons at the same time a 50 milers running. And so, of course, those cost different amounts. I like it that you get it's a percentage off. So if you're going longer and paying more, it's a bigger discount. Or a bigger amount off.
That's awesome.
All right.
Okay, so we got a question from Drew. And so he's getting into our personal lives. And so maybe I missed it at some point, but what do you all do for jobs? Do you have other hobbies outside the podcast and running? So we got 2 questions. It's like, what do we do when we're not elite athletes and professional podcasters? And then what's something else other than running that we do in our free time? So we'll start with Chandler.
All right. So my job, it's a hard career to break into. It's called a Walmart. It's a little obscure indie store here in the Midwest. You may have heard of it, may not. No, I do work at Walmart right now. Outside of running, though, I do a lot of climbing. For anyone out there, my grades are pretty bad. It's like a 510B for a sport, and I can climb at V3 Boulder, so they're really, really bad grades. And I also do I make some videos and photography for fun. What about you guys?
You have some cool stuff too, I have to say. And I know nothing about climbing, so I'm going to go, that sounds really impressive. So, all right, what do you do?
Okay, what do I do? Okay, which we've talked about the meat sticks prior, but we do have my family owns a business, and I'm the 3rd generation in the business, and we are a meat processing plant. And I guess the easiest way to describe it is we have animals come in the back door, and we have steaks and roasts and snack sticks and stuff come out the front. We're very diversified, and we are an agricultural-based business. We have a full-line retail store. I do inspected private labeling for other companies, and we have a catering department. And then I do a lot of fundraising with the snack sticks with local schools and around the communities. And like I said, we're 3rd generation. The original business was started in 1949. It was purchased by my grandpa in 1959. And so grandpa was in the business. My dad was in the business, and now I am, and he's retired. My dad's retired now. And then every once in a while, my boys will come down and they will visit and help out a little bit. And so we'll see if they want to come into the business. If they do, great. If not, then I will burn it to the ground someday.
Gotta collect that insurance money.
There you go. So hopefully that never happens, since this is now recorded and will be.
Yeah, way to go. Oh, wah, wah.
We'll edit that out.
Just cut it out.
Yeah, just
we'll
edit
edit
that
that out.
It's not going to happen. And so anyway, when it comes to hobbies and stuff, I am a very busy fellow, but whenever I do get the opportunity, I like to do woodworking. And so that's kind of one of my pastimes. We've got some acreage here on the place, and so I've cut down some trees and I've taken them to the Amish sawmill, and we've cut up some lumber, and I've got it stuck in a barn where it's drying and has dried. It's been there for a few years, and so I just steadily use on that, and I like to make furniture for my house.
Here's a question for you, Andy. What's your favorite type of wood to work with, and why is it northern white pine?
And why isn't it?
Why is it?
Is it? It is not northern white pine. I love cherry and walnut. That's my favorite.
Oh, all right.
Cherry and walnut sounds like a pie. Count me in.
It does, yeah.
It does not taste as good, though.
No, it doesn't.
Not near as good.
So my day job, it's totally fascinating. So I'll try and break it down here. I manage employee benefits and workers' compensation. So, it's a fascinating area. But it's actually kind of fun. I do it for one of our larger school districts, and the people I work with and the people around me are absolutely just wonderful. So that's what makes it fun. What I do, from day to day dealing with insurance is not at all fascinating, but it's good. I like the people. It pays the bills. As for hobbies outside of podcasting and running, that eats up like 90% of my time.
I know it's tough.
My hobbies outside of that, showering. Yeah, that pretty much eats up most of my time. I like getting outside, trying to do other things, and I do like to cook and read and do that kind of stuff. But honestly, I don't have much time for anything else.
All right. Okay. So Melissa can't wait to hear what your goals are, Crystal. And so I know we've kind of talked about what you've got going on this year. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
Really, that's the main thing is it's just almost kind of a repeat of last year, taking what I've learned and going out. And it's kind of funny because the comment below that is from Shelby, who is the yoga teacher. And so one of my goals is to keep up with my yoga, because I will say that I've been doing really good, as I promised, with my yoga. So I think I'm on a 6 or 7 day streak of yoga every day. It has really helped me recover from the injury that I got at Tunnel Hill. And I think it really is going to be the key to helping me stay healthy. So that's one of my other goals for the year.
All right. So Charity, which she was on one of our previous episodes, are the three of us going to do a run together? And then what is a huge running goal that each of us have? And so we'll hit that first, and then we'll get her third question. All of us getting together. There's no plan for it, but that would be great.
Yeah, I think we had so much fun before it Run Under the Stars, and so there's the one coming up. I think I'm going to do the one in Indiana, which is July. Talking to maybe see if I can convince Chandler to come to it too. So now we
totally down.
All right, so now we just have to work on you, Andy.
Okay, we'll see what happens. So yeah, I mean it's tough. I mean we've all we don't live close together, and so we have to find something that we're all willing to make that commitment to get together. And that was Run Under the Stars last year. And so anyway, yeah, it's a big deal. But I mean it's something that I'd love to do again. And yeah, I mean, it's certainly something that there's nothing planned right now. But in my opinion, if the opportunity arises, I'm going to jump on it as soon as I can. And so, we just have to find that perfect date.
One of the things that I thought would be fun, I don't think it'll work for next year, but there is an ultra called the Heartland. And they have different distances and stuff. And I'm like, it would be so much fun. And it's, of course, closer out to you guys. But I'm like, that would be a fun race, even if we did different distances and stuff to all go out and do together.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I thought that would be good. So we'll put that in for 2019.
Okay, we'll plug that in.
Yeah. We'll check our calendars.
Okay, so each of us, huge running goals, real quick.
I think right now for me, it's to finally break through that 100-mile barrier. And then once I get through that, then I kind of want to start pushing beyond that. But I really need to knock that 100-miler out of the way.
Okay. All right, Chandler.
As a lifetime running goal, I think it'd be really cool to do that Tibetan marathon. They have the Tibetan Plateau Marathon, where the altitude is so high. The marathon feels like 100-miler or something, where it sucks, and that sounds awesome. So that's probably like a lifelong running goal on there.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. Okay. And then for me, and Boston, I mean, it's just, I'd love to do it. The more that I run, though, the farther it seems that that is from me. But, I'm just going to keep plugging away, and I just need to get a little bit older and a little bit faster. And so there's my long term.
To get old and fast. I like
to get old and fast. Yeah, the first part is easier than the second part. So anyway, the last to finish up charity, and then one winter training tip from each of us. And so I'll go ahead and start there. I have not thought about this at all. But I guess my biggest one is just find something to motivate you to get out the door. It's so easy for me just to blow it off and say, treadmill day. And I know that, the treadmill is great because at least I'm getting something in, but it's not as good as being outside, and it's not as good as being out on the roads, the trails, or whatever you need to do. So it's just whatever it takes for you to get yourself motivated to get out the door, then you need to find that motivation and go and make it happen, because it's too easy to either blow it off or just hit the treadmill. And that's just not as good as actually getting out on the roads.
Cool. Do you have a tip, Chandler? I can't even spit that out.
Yeah, sure. Let me see if I can figure one out real fast. So be sure to, if you're like me, you never check the weather. You just kind of go out and do it. That's not a good idea for winter. Plan your runs out based on the weekly weather. So look for the warmer day and plan your long run on that one, and maybe plan that short speed work on the day where it's going to be 9 degrees.
Ooh.
Is that good?
I like that to try and plan it out like that. That's good.
Cool. Glad it came out okay.
There you go. Woo. So I think my tip is really, I've run in weather down to -30, and the key is really to just dress for it and figure out what
is that Fahrenheit or is that
so
sunny temperature?
Here's what's really cool about -30. -30 is the point where Fahrenheit and Celsius is actually even.
Is it -30?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, you can Google that while I keep talking, and if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure it's right around -30. So to answer your question, yes. So it's really about dressing properly. And so the big thing for me, I have found the best running gear comes from the dollar store, which sounds crazy, but I love. So when it's just a little bit cooler, I like just like the stretchy dollar throwaway gloves. Then when it gets colder, they have the dollar fleece gloves, and those things really keep your hands warm. And then when it gets colder, they have the fleece mittens. And then a lot of dollar stores too will have like just the cheap fleece shirts, which are really good for for like one of the base layers and stuff too. So a lot of my favorite stuff again just comes from the dollar store, and some of that stuff actually ends up lasting for years. So that's my tip.
Yeah, those mittens are magical. They are something else.
And I like them better than I have bought some of the expensive, brand name running gloves and stuff, and my hands freeze in them. I like my dollar store gloves way better.
All right, cold weather tips. Okay, so Paula has another one. She is on fire on this podcast with questions. And so she is thinking about running the Little Rock Marathon. And then she's asking, has any of you run it? And then do we have any tips? So I know I'm signed up for it. I'm going to be running it. So Paula, I can see you there if you sign up for it. Crystal, have you done it?
I have not done it.
Okay. So Crystal hasn't done it. So there's a couple things that I do know about the race. And one of them is that, it's going to be early spring, and so it's probably going to be cold.
I went down with my dad this year for it. I drove him down there, and it was pretty cold in the morning.
Yeah.
It was also wet. That's a big one. It's wet.
Okay. Yeah, because that time of year, especially in the Midwest, can have any sort of weather. And so that's one thing that you do have to plan for. It can be 80 degrees. It could be 8 degrees. It could be snowing. It could be raining, or it could be sunny and nice outside. So you just have to be prepared for everything. Now, one thing that I have heard about the course is I've heard that there are some hills. It's not anything drastic, but there's going to be some rolling hills that's involved with that. You're going to be down by the riverfront there in Little Rock. And so make sure that whenever you do your training, that you do have a few hills that's incorporated into it. I'm not sure where you're from, and I don't know if you've got that option, but you do need to do some hill training. I will be incorporating that into my training, so that way I'm ready for those. It's not something like a Chicago last year that I did that was completely flat, and that wasn't something that I needed to really concentrate on. But this is something that I'm going to do, and so this is something that I would recommend too, if you want to run the race.
Great. Yeah. And I know Paula, she's transitioning from trails to road. She just ran a road PR, which is really cool. So I think that's why she's getting excited about doing some road.
Congrats.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, good job.
So I think that's why she's getting excited. So I think with doing a lot of trail runs, she should be used to some of the hills. So that what she has built on that will probably help her out, a bunch in a marathon like that. So it sounds like a good choice.
Yeah, and she's wanting to improve her road marathon time. And so that's kind of one of her focuses for this year, because she's mainly been doing trails. As someone who's been doing a lot of trails, you probably haven't done a lot of speed work. And that's probably something that I would really encourage, because that's the magic awesome sauce when it comes to improving your time is getting those intervals done and getting those specific speed workouts. And generally the speed workouts, they're going to kind of build and get more intensity as you move in through your training plan. And this is what happened with me through Chicago, that, I would start, my intervals would be shorter at the beginning of the season. And then as I worked towards the race itself, intervals would get longer. Intervals would get faster, because that's two things that you can make adjustments to. You can either make your intervals longer or faster, or a combination of the two, and you slowly build on those, just like you would build on your weekly mileage. And there's lots of places out there where you can get some good information on speed work and speed drills and stuff like that. But that really is that really is the awesome sauce when it comes to getting yourself faster, because you're actually going to be running faster than that marathon time. You're going to be teaching your body how to run faster. You're going to be working on those fast twitch muscles, which is going to, help to develop yourself to be able to go those faster paces. And, it's really important. I mean, I was doing speed work twice a week. And, some people just do it once a week. And, you don't necessarily have to go to a track to do it, just as long as you've got something that's pretty flat and a pretty consistent distance where you can keep track of what those intervals are. But I mean, that's really important right there. And speed work, it's uncomfortable. I mean, you're pushing yourself kind of at that limit of what your body's done before, and you're just trying to move it to that next level every week. And so it's going to be one of those really, really hard workouts that whenever it's over with, I mean, the sense of satisfaction that you get from, completing that workout is going to be great. But sometimes you're going to be a little nervous going into it, or dread it going into it. I know I would get my plan from my coach, and I would just look at that and go, holy crap, you want me to do that? And you know what? As long as you build up to it slowly every week and make those little slow steps every week, you know what? You can do it, and you'll be amazed at what you can actually accomplish and how much faster or how much farther you can go in these hard workouts. And that's the thing that gives you that mental confidence that whenever you go into a race, that even whenever it's tough at mile 17, mile 18 of a marathon, you know that, okay, this is hard, but I've done some really hard stuff. and I've done some harder stuff and I've done some faster stuff than this, I can keep this going. And so, there's the physical aspect that you gain from that speed work. There's also the mental aspect of it. And so, I'm a big proponent of speed work, and I haven't gotten into my speed work yet for this marathon. But that's going to be happening here real soon. And so, I would recommend that above anything to, get yourself ready to go for a PR or a faster time with a road marathon.
Great. That's all great advice.
Yeah, I think that was a great rundown about why you should train hard. That was really good.
Well, now if you don't go out and PR, Paula,
like that, I just did.
we fully expect Paula to PR now, so pressure's on her.
No pressure.
And then the last question that we have here is from Dennis. And I've actually met Dennis before. Dennis is a maniac, and I've met him through the Maniacs group. And we've been at a couple marathons and stuff together. And Dennis is just one of the nicest guys. And this is one of the reasons why I like being in the Maniacs. And the first time I met Dennis was actually when we did an indoor marathon. And it was the marathon where it's on a 200-meter track, so it's not even the 400. It's like the 200-meter track. I can't even remember how many laps you have to do. And he was there. I think he was doing the half, and there was another maniac that was there doing the full. And she was having a really, really hard time. And so when he finished his half, he was done and he could have left. And he actually stuck around and was checking on her, and he walked with her to try and get her through and to get her to try and finish and stuff. So I thought that was kind of cool. And that's always really respected Dennis. And so what's kind of cool about Dennis is he's done, I can't even remember how many marathons he's done. He's done a lot, and he's doing the whole 50 states thing. But he's thinking about jumping into the ultra world. So his question, he said, I would be interested in a recommendation for courses for an entry-level ultra marathoners, that first 50K or first 50 miler. So I have a few thoughts on this, but before I jump in, did you have anything, Andy?
Okay, me, and hopefully I don't steal your thunder, but pick a easy course and look for something that is a rails to trails. And so if you're not familiar with what that is those are courses or walking trails or paths that used to be train tracks. And so they're always going to be nice and flat, and they've been converted to walking trails. And so most of the time it's nice, smooth gravel. It's easy to run on. They're usually very well maintained, and they are flat. You're not going to get anything above a 5% grade, either going up or down, because that's what trains utilize. And so, find a rails to trails, and that is going to be your easiest introduction into the ultra world.
Yes, so that's great. I think that was one of the recommendations I had, but another one that I have too, and I think this is a great way for anybody who's wanting to make the leap and kind of test it out, is instead of thinking of a distance event, do a timed event. And I love, love, love timed events. So something like a Run Under the Stars, that one's a 10-hour. There's all different ones that you can find that are 6 hours, 8 hours. And what's nice about those is they're a looped course. And loops, it's not nearly as boring as what you would think it would be. Andy, you did Run Under the Stars, and it was a half-mile loop. It doesn't feel as boring as you feel like it should be, right?
Well, it was great because, there were so many people that was concentrated in that area that there was always someone new to meet and talk to, and there was always, someone interesting to be around. And so yeah, it just kept you going. Yeah,
so it's great. So you're never by yourself. You don't have this sense of being at the back of the pack. You can't tell if you're at the back of the pack, the front of the pack. You're all together. So that's really cool. And there's no pressure. You cannot, with the exception of there's a few timed events where, yes, you have to be still standing and moving when the time goes off. But other than that, most of them, that you can't DNF because it's just as far as you can go in that time. So if you're in a 10-hour race and you decide that I'm going to do 4 hours, and at 4 hours I'm done, you're done. And they record the time, and that's it. And you can do as little or as much as you want. You can, sit down for a little bit. You can go back out. So it's a really kind of fun way to test what you can do, but without that real pressure of it. And sometimes you can surprise yourself and go further than what you thought you were going to. So that's kind of my suggestion. And what's yours, Chandler? What do you think? What should you do for a first ultra?
I've heard about a great ultra course called Tunnel Hill. Okay.
Speaking of rails to trails, yeah.
It's flat. It is in a cool month, so you don't have to worry about the heat. And we have a discount code for it. So you can save a little bit of money with it. It sounds like an all-around good thing.
So I guess what you're saying is that if you, as someone who's never done an ultra before, was looking to do one, that is a race that would be interesting to you.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, because first off, it's flat, and I love hills. I don't know if I could do 50 miles of hills. I think I could do 50 miles flat though, if I had to. Someone had a gun to my head, and I'm sure if you're training for it, you could definitely do it. And then also, it seems like a cool area. It seems very nice, very pretty, and it'll give you something to look at on it. So yeah,
great. We've got you signed up.
Oh no! What did I do?
Yeah, we warned you. This is how this works, right?
I made a terrible mistake.
Oh, that's great. So, anybody else have anything else that they want to say about 2017 going into 2018?
Oh, I just want to tell everyone out there that's listening that, just go for it. Find that goal, find something that maybe that you're excited about, maybe something that scares you a little bit, and just go out there and go get it. And don't let anything limit you, because the only limits that you have is what you place on yourself. And so if you don't give yourself any, then you've got no excuse to not go out there and succeed. So good luck, everyone.
Yeah, and something I've learned this year, and something a lot of people. You hear a lot about it, but any day, you never know when your last day, your last week is going to be here. And so it's important, go out and do everything you can, and try and as I don't know how to say it in Latin, but, seize the day. Try and live life to the fullest you can. And to some people, that's, base jumping off of Mount Everest. And to some people, it's, cooking a nice homemade dinner. But whatever that is for you, go out and find it, because, it's an important life lesson, and a lot of people seem to forget it. So, yeah.
That was awesome. You know what?
Nice.
I can't possibly top that. So I am going to leave it at that. I just want to say thank you to everyone for listening in 2017, and I hope you'll be back with us in 2018. Just quickly, shout out to the Ozark Mountain Daredevils for allowing us to use their music in both our intro and outro. Be sure to visit us at heartlandrunning.com for show notes and a bunch of stuff out there. And as we said before, please come in and join our Facebook group. We have a lot of fun there. If you want to leave us any messages to be featured on the show or send us a text, you can do that at 513-486-4636. And if you like the show, be sure to tell a friend. We've been starting to get a lot of referrals lately, and we really appreciate that. So until next year, I'm Crystal.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Chandler.
And we'll see you later.